Well, you guys are coming off what was a very warm, exciting, electric show here this past weekend down in Hot Springs, Arkansas with Vixen. How was the show, man? It looked like a great time down there.
I remember it's got hot right in the name of the town, so you know what I mean. It's kind of you know what you're up against. It was high 80s and saturation humidity even at sunset, so it was a cool show. Honestly, who was on first? Autograph played, Vixen played, and then we did our thing. But it was cool. A good time was had by all. You know, it was interesting. Last time we played there, I think we had played a few years prior with Queensryche, and I was on the phone with Todd Latore yesterday talking about that very gig a few years ago, and we were just catching up. Another good guy, smart cat, great musician. If you've never had him on the show, have Todd on the show.
We just did recently, in fact.
Okay,
Yes.
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that, you're ahead of the game. So yeah, the show was really great. It was our fourth one back. It was the fourth of a 4-show run. We'd played on the 5th or 6th in Pennsylvania, and then we had a midweek show in Fargo. Flew down to Dallas, did Texarkana, then did Hot Springs. It after 15 plus months, coming in doing like one rehearsal and coming back and doing some shows was kind of interesting. But we had a great time. Honestly, I am overwhelmed with how I wanted to optimistically expect audiences to just be chomping at the bit for entertainment of any type, you know, juggler, I don't know, whatever. And it was really cool. Honestly, I can't, I'm going to be, you know, all jokes aside, all kidding aside, I was completely pleased to have that happen.
So you guys have been playing the Cherry Pie album. This is the 30th anniversary of Cherry Pie. It was supposed to be last year, and here we are. It's finally happening. What has it been like playing some of these songs? I know you love Blind Faith. I think I read somewhere that's maybe one of your favorite songs to sing.
We had to revamp the entire set for 2020, announcing the 30th anniversary of the Cherry record. I mean, that's quite a milestone. Clearly, I get to sing all those songs that people remember and have nostalgia for. So I think it's really, really, it's a fun responsibility to have. I like it. I love the record. I was a fan back then. So, you know, I was around for a bunch of those shows on that tour. So I remember that, the old Warrant Trickster Firehouse bill. So it's cool to do those songs just to see and gauge from any given night. You get different audience reaction, but clearly we can't do it in sequence because the record starts with Cherry Pie. So it's like, hey, good night. You know, like it would be not cool to do that. We throw in some Dirty Rotten songs, one or two from the Doggy Dog record, and then a couple from the records that I've done. It's still 75, 80 plus minutes of pretty much constant. It's fun to do. Like I said, that record's a challenging record. A lot of production stuff in there, and we don't use tracks or anything like that. So it's just us doing that up there, kind of as true to live performance as we can be, and still faithfully reproduce that, you know, to everyone's expectations. Because if you just have the record and you've never seen the band live, there were a ton of overdub vocals on that record, especially even more so than on the Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinkin' Rich record, from what I can remember. But it's still fun to do. Like I said, I mean, have I had too much coffee? Have I even answered your question?
No, you did. This is great. What's this journey been like?
I had something sticking in my head because I must have said in an interview somewhere like the answer to whatever question, because everybody always asks, and I hate to say it, please don't ask that question like that. It's not a dumbass question, but it's one of those go-tos. I was just, what's your favorite song to perform live? I'm like, what? And honestly, it's whatever one gets the best reaction. So it's always in reaction rather than I love this one, I don't like this one as much. It's really not that way with me. It varies from night to night. Blind Faith is just a cool song to play. I get to play a little acoustic guitar on a few songs during the Warrant set. I play and I write on guitar and piano a lot. So for me, I don't only like to stand there in front of a mic. It's very comfortable to do that. But I think those songs where I get to play a little bit, even though they're limiting because I have to stand still. I don't have a mic that follows me. I don't have the Garth Brooks or like Britney Spears kind of mic that follows you know, like the old school. That's how old school I am. I refer to it as the Garth Brooks mic. But I don't.
I think Kip Winger had it first.
Man, Sammy Hagar used one. A lot of people used them, like back in the days when they were first coming out. So that kind of plants me in a spot. Kind of plants me in a spot where I've got to sing. I'm playing. It's limiting in a way, but it's unique in a way to me as far as the performance goes. The rest of the whole night, I get to throw a mic stand around, you know, sprint around side to side and stuff, and get in everybody's way.
So, Robert, this has been a 13-year journey now. What makes this a fit for you? Because you've done so many great things. You're heralded as a tremendous vocalist, and I agree with that, even by me.
Where that comes from, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
But what makes this group a fit? Because we've had Joey Allen on a lot, Eric Turner. Is it the guys in the band that you just like being around these guys? Is it the songs? What makes this a fit?
I was a fan. We were friends. Janie and I became friends while they were finishing up recording Dog Eat Dog, and we were doing the Lynch Mob record in LA. They were doing Dog Eat Dog in Florida, but I would see Lane a lot, just out. Ran into him a bunch of times in California when I was out there recording our Lynch Mob record in '91, early '91, and he and I got to be friends. And it was probably through that and you know, just happenstance afterwards. We have a record out. They have a record out. I remember him saying one night, well, we'll take you out on tour. I'm thinking like, all right, well, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic. This is a guy I had a few drinks with and hung out and laughed at, you know, a bunch of different stuff throughout the past months making this record. We'll see what happens. And sure enough, you know, one day we get a call from management. Hey, you have a bunch of Warrant dates. You want to go out? And George and I were thinking, yeah, do an arena tour. Why not? So that kind of helped us solidify friendships back then between myself and those guys. I know I took a couple of trips on the Warrant bus when, Janie and I would take off after gigs, go get in a cab, just the two of us, just, you know, singers. Everybody else can, you know,
peace out.
Insert whatever expletive you like. And, I don't know if I can swear on your show.
Yes, you can.
Well, I tend to do that a bit. So, but you know, we would take off and go install ourselves in whatever club he knew or I knew in whatever city we were in, and just go watch a cover band or go, you know, just sit and hang out and have a couple of drinks and, you know, kind of unwind and talk about our shows. Or anything, if we didn't want to, anything else but our shows. You know, we kind of escaped to do that several times during that tour. But on the other hand, I got to get pretty tight with Joey, pretty tight with Dixon. And throughout that, and then the years afterward, kind of stayed in touch. Lost touch with them for a few years. And then, you know, Warrant went through a couple of years where a couple of band members decided they didn't want to be in the band for a minute, and, you know, and left and came back, that kind of thing. When they all got back together, I reached out to Lane. I remember texting him a few times and leaving him a couple of voice messages. I heard back once. I didn't hear back more than that, so I figured, okay, fine. But just congratulating them for getting all 5 original guys back. And there's a reason why this is a long-winded answer. When I saw them at Rocklahoma, I saw, you know, quite frankly, Janie was having a real tough time being out on the road and not succumbing to his demons, let's just say, you know, whatever. I can only allege, but that's what they were. And I saw the other 4 guys just really wanting to get this back on the road and get it together. So I saw like a 5-cylinder engine with 4 cylinders, you know, and
interesting.
When the opportunity came, and it was, I think Joey said it to me first. He may have. He said, man, we don't want to do this, but this is a situation where we may have to send Janie home. We still have promoters, and we're still on the line, you know, we're still on the hook to all these venues and all this stuff. You know, if he goes home and tries to straighten himself out for real, would you do some shows? And that's the impetus behind. That was the inception of it. It wasn't like, we're kicking this guy out, we want you in our band. It wasn't like that. And when we didn't have that conversation at Rocklahoma, but we kind of reconnected at Rocklahoma in '08. And then just it became that thing where the question was put to me whether or not I wanted to go out and do those dates. And I said yes, and I had such a good time doing it. And if Janie could have gotten everything back together and came back, batting 1,000 saying, man, I want back in, it would have been his gig. It is his gig. Sure. You know what I mean? He wrote those songs. It's like that stuff matters to me. But sadly, he couldn't. And he was really not in a great place. And those guys we started doing good business and being a consistent band again. Promoters were noticing that. So it just snowballed into this thing where I stayed. And sadly, Janie went a little farther and farther downhill and was gone 3 years later. And, I've done 2 records with the band and we have such a great time. There is band camaraderie. We do hang out together. So
that's important.
And I hope other people can see that too. I hope that translates on stage. I know you don't get to see us all throughout the entire day, but tons of fans come to do meet and greets now because that's the new thing. Everybody wants, either backstage access or they want something signed or they just want to tell you their stories. And that's become an integral part of this whole machine for us. And we do that at every city.
Yeah, it's tremendous and highly recommend that you do that. I think you can even sing a song at sound check. Is that correct?
Or whatever you play. I mean, if you're, if you play accordion or if you're a guitar player or whatever you are, chainsaws, whatever. But I mean, there are different levels, I guess, of meet and greet, and we kind of came upon that one because we had so many people asking, could I show up at sound check? Could I ever play with you guys? And it kind of just clicked with us, like, okay, we'll make that the double secret platinum package or whatever. I don't know. And we've had a bunch of people. We have repeat offenders too. We have guys that a guy who owns a construction business or a guy who's an airline pilot or a guy who's a pediatrician, and they play guitar and they're like, well, I do well in my business. I've always wanted to do this. I want to come and do this with you guys. And
I love it.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see that.
Well, buckle up. Don't get too comfortable because here in Hannibal, Missouri, when you guys are here July 23rd, you and I are going to be doing a duet to Dreamweaver. So buckle up for that.
Don't recall that from our catalog, but
we're going to go outside the set list. So Robert, we got to talk about the End Machine because Jeff Pilson's a great friend of ours. Phase 2, tremendous album, great follow-up. Just kind of what's the reception been like? You're something that kind of magical that happens when you, Jeff, and George get together, man. It's a really good album.
I really appreciate that. It's tinged with a little bittersweet because our schedules are all so collectively just manic. It's a tough thing when people ask, "Oh, are you going to play live?" You hate to say no, and I probably don't ever want to say that, but it seems relatively unlikely. But we're proud of the record. It's fun. We were proud of the first one. The first one was a little more of us, I think, trying to be our own animal and not as derivative's the wrong word. Without playing to our influences and our pasts so heavy-handedly. But on this record, we're like, why don't we not be afraid of that? And between the record company and ourselves, the point was made that Jeff and George are, an important component of the Dokken, whatever you want to call it, sound, iconography, all that kind of stuff, all together. You think of those two guys pretty predominantly in songwriting, all that kind of stuff, and obviously they sound. Jeff sings and plays the way he does, and George can't pick up a guitar without sounding like himself. He doesn't sound like anybody else. So we weren't as afraid of revisiting what made Dokken cool to us, and maybe to fans too. You always hope. You make records that you're happy with. You get turned on by the songs first and hope that they do as well. So when we did that, obviously I'm not going to write the way Don writes, and I'm not Don Dokken. So there was that component where I bring what I bring to the party, but we sat in Zoom meetings, the three of us, in the writing stages, and I was more than happy to take their input this time around for like lyric and melody ideas, I have a bunch. I always have a bunch, but they were an important part of that band. So we figured, okay, Jeff Pilson pitched a couple of either verse or chorus ideas. I think chorus ideas that we used, I loved. And I'm like, okay, cool. Our voices are not that dissimilar. He's got a great background vocal voice blend with me. So just, it kind of was a different path, but came sort of naturally as well. So that's what the Phase 2 record really is us, going like, all right, Docket thing was cool. Maybe that's what fans want. You try not to repeat yourself on every record. So there you go.
Well, it's tremendous. And, it's kind of interesting. And I want to go in kind of a different way with this question than maybe you're thinking. But recently, George talked about how you maybe have different political views than he and Jeff. And it got me thinking, in the history of rock and roll.
Did it make you think, God, George gets off topic and says some dumbass shit every once in a while?
It made me wonder when politics had come into play until now. Like, what's going on?
What's really funny? Somebody's going to watch this, and that's going to be the blabbermouth quote.
I almost said that jokingly, and I don't. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's funny. It doesn't really. I thought good song's a good song. I don't go out on a mission to state some cause in some preachy way that everybody else has to listen to. So that's not what I go about when I'm writing lyrics. If I'm inspired by anything I see, hear, taste, smell, experience, get hit by, whatever, I'll write about it. But that was not my aim. That had my head scratching, to be honest, a little bit too. But the guy thinks the way he wants to think. He can pick and choose what he wants to say in an interview, and so can I.
Well,
it's not like we fist fought, or it's not like we call each other idiots. We're not that polarized. We're actually the sort of folks who still engage in thoughtful dialogue with each other instead of just saying, "You're an idiot." Nope, you are. That I think that dissent and lack of recognizing common ground is probably an instrumental problem that people have nowadays. Once again, I'm not being too preachy, but not to be waxed too philosophical, but the distance between us and our opinions, it's not distance between us. Maybe there's common ground in there. I mean, I hate to say that and sound all mushy, but we wrote the lyrics mostly come from me anyway. They all did on the last record. But if somebody's got an interesting thought or a lyric or an idea, I'm more than happy to write around it. I didn't think it was that challenging. In a word, it wasn't really that challenging. And if George had an idea, pitched me like buzzwords, not really a lyric writer, but he'll text me a bunch of stuff and say, "Hey man, what do you think of this? Or can you integrate this into what you're doing?" And I made every effort to do so.
Very well said. When it comes down to it, I just love the album. People are really digging it, and that's what's important. Before we let you go, Robert, we got to hit you with our final 4 drum roll. 4 quick questions. You give us whatever comes to mind. It's usually fun. I'm usually better friends with the interviewee after it's over. So
fair enough.
Okay, so what is the last concert you remember attending as a fan before COVID? I mean, it's been a while, I'm assuming.
It was way before the COVID thing, because I don't get to go out to too many shows. Oh, you know what? We were on the Kiss Cruise. Okay. Last time I just sat there, now granted I'm on the boat. I can't exactly split unless I had a helicopter. But of my own volition, I was on stage left watching the darkness with a couple of my guys and Paul Stanley. We're sitting watching and they put on an amazing show.
I love them.
Justin's the real deal. Like Justin, Dan, everybody in that band. I went up to them afterwards, and Justin and I kind of became buds. So on the Kiss Cruise, for me, that's cool. I was a fan of their band. I like what they do. So there you go. That was probably the last time. That was October, November of 19.
Yeah, that's right. That was the last one. What show or shows on Netflix or streaming have you kind of got caught up with over the last time?
Wow, that's another tough one. There's a channel called the Coda channel that's got a lot of music based stuff, and they had a really cool 8 or 10 part documentary on songwriters. It might even be called The Great Songwriters. And I mean, everything from Carly Simon to I think Bill Withers was on there, Barry Gibb, and
Amazing, yeah.
others like Noel Gallagher, but people I was fans of. It was really introspective as to their process as far as songwriting goes. Maybe they couldn't get Paul McCartney. I don't know, but or Burt Bacharach. I don't know, but it was an interesting series. I kind of got sucked into that and watched them, like binged them all in a row.
That's sweet. That's sweet. I got to check that out. You mentioned Kiss, so I'm going to call an audible here. What is your favorite non-makeup or 80s Kiss album?
Non-makeup?
So like Lick It Up, Asylum, Animalize.
Revenge?
I'll count that. That's good.
Because
it was 92, but
again, I have to use that word bittersweet, was because Eric Carr was very sick and was passing and had passed. But my friend Eric Singer,
great
record, and he and I have been friends an awful long time. We still talk pretty regularly, and I really like that record.
Tremendous. I absolutely agree.
Too. So it was like we were all coming out with records at the same time. We actually had Kiss dates initially for a very short period of time. It's like, back when you had your fax machine, just, go bananas with like reams and reams of paper, come out with all these dates. Like, Kiss, Madison Square Garden, oh my God, like all those things. And then that whole wing of their tour, that whole leg of their tour that we were going to be on support got like furloughed away for some reason. I was just, initially just heartbroken, because if I could have supported Kiss in arenas, it would have been fun.
Absolutely. That I didn't realize that about that, because I think that was my first Kiss concert in St. Joe, Missouri at the Civic Arena, and you guys were not up, and I'm pissed about it to this day. What is the first album that you remember buying with your own money or that you stole?
I did not steal. I would have gotten my ass beaten. Strict parents. So let's see. I think it was 2 the same day. And it was either bought with my own money. Let me think. Kansas Point of No Return and Chicago Live at Carnegie Hall, which was a 4-album box set, but it was albums with a book and the whole thing.
That's awesome. Great answers, Robert. We can't thank you enough, man. It's been too long. We will see you here in person in Hannibal, Missouri. That's about 3 hours from I live in Kansas City, but I will be there and can't wait to have Warrant here in Missouri, man. We're excited.
Oh, thank God. Well, you'll be there. Thank you for the warrant.
I will be. Robert, if you would just...
I'll be easy to find.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you'll be the guy with the mic stand. If you would just give us like a quick ID, something like, this is Robert Mason from Warrant, and you're on the road to rock, we'd be great. And Robert, you have been on the road to rock. Thank you so much, man. Take care.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Always, brother. Thank you.